D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds, and welcome to my Week in Review, where I come to you every Sunday with 3 entertainment stories that I personally find interesting, and then we discuss them down below. Down below, you can also find the articles that I read to do this video, and you can make up your own mind and also leave your comments about them and everything, because you don't just have to go with what I say. Make up your own mind and everything. I also want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube recently did a bot and old account cleanse/purge, and there's been a lot of collateral damage. So consider liking, subscribing, and sharing my videos, and I thank you in advance. So let's just dive right into these stories. Okay, so let's get into this. So for the first story of the day, let's talk about Rian Johnson, because he got himself a little bit of news in this story, because there was an arbitration or some kind of judgment made of whether or not he owed his former agent any of his Star Wars money. So let's just take a look at this, because I think it's a really interesting story, and it gives you some idea of how Hollywood works, even for behind the camera talent. So Rian Johnson, of course, worked for a very long time making tiny films like Brick, a very good movie, by the way, and Brothers Bloom, and he was working, and plenty of people were fans of his and everything, especially when he did the movie Looper, because that was like his big movie that probably got him the Star Wars movie. But from then to that time to when he made all those smaller movies, he had a single agent, one man, who had represented him for 10 years and built Rian Johnson up and built up his career, and got him to the point where CAA was interested in him, and they are a big talent agency in LA and everything. So CAA said that they wanted to represent him. So Rian Johnson is probably excited about it, because CAA can open a lot of doors for you. You'll find out in a minute that they did. So then what usually happens is if you go to a new manager or agency, you leave your old manager/agency and you just move over to the new place. But Rian Johnson was probably worried, because he got a big agency to pick him up, and sometimes it doesn't always work out. So to play it safe, he kept his former agent also, and he did something that's completely unusual. He paid out 20% of his income. So basically, you have to pay 10% to your income to your agent, and then about 5% to your lawyer. And that's about the norm in Hollywood. And you do this instead of paying them a salary, and it's supposed to incentivize them to get you more work, and that's the way it works in Hollywood. So Rian Johnson was doing the usual thing of paying 20%, so CAA was able to get him a very exciting meeting with Lucasfilms. And he goes into the meeting with Lucasfilms, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, "Hey, I'd like you to direct a Star Wars movie," and Rian Johnson was like, "Hey, can I think about it?" And she goes, "Of course," and everything. And then as soon as he leaves the office, he decides he's going to fire his former agent of 10 years, who up to that point he had kept on. And so therefore, he doesn't have to pay him any of the Star Wars money. That's exactly what he did, and he felt like he didn't have to pay any of the Star Wars money to this guy. And this is the only about his Star Wars situation real quick. Like the money he made off of the movie Star Wars, it only has to do with that kind of money. So like he did Knives Out after the Star Wars movie, so he doesn't owe him any of that money, because that movie was made in a deal that was made after he had fired him. But the Star Wars movie money is still in question. But I think his former agent argued that when he took the meeting, he was still representing him, and he fired him specifically so he wouldn't have to give him any money, and that guy felt like he should get some money. And it was decided, unfortunately, that, however, they decided to do it at an arbitration, that legally he didn't owe this man any money. So this guy is not getting any of that of his Star Wars money, and that, by the way, is in perpetuity. So like he would get money in perpetuity. Any residuals that Rian Johnson gets, he would have to pay this former agent. And it's so crazy, because it just proves that Rian Johnson isn't just a douche in Star Wars. He's a douche in real life. And it's really crazy because he still gets 80% of the money that he made off Star Wars, and he gives 10% to CAA and 10% of his wage, and he still gets to keep 80% of that money. And I have to tell you, if he's not legally not bound to do it because he did fire him before he signed the deal. But I think that the damage is to his image, and it's pretty bad. And I like I said before, Rian Johnson seems like a total douche in this situation and in other situations. I mean, and Knives Out sucked. I F-bomb him. I don't care. I wouldn't work with him, and I don't even work in the industry. Well, I would work with him just to get my name out there. But after that, I'd be like, oh, get away from me. I don't want to deal with you. You're a douche. So that's my first story of the day. So for my second story, so Harvey Weinstein has been putting a show on for the last couple of weeks, and this is a very serious story. It's pretty crazy. So Harvey Weinstein has been pretending that he's quite sick and can hardly walk. I personally don't believe him, but whatever. And I think it's just because he doesn't want to go to jail. But he's going to jail because he was found guilty of 2 of the 5 things he was charged with, and the jury took it very seriously. And they were like, we aren't sure, and they took a couple extra days to deliberate. And I think that's really nice of them. And I think in this instance, the justice system worked. Now, they didn't find him guilty across the board because they couldn't. Some of them were conflicting charges. You had to pick one or the other, and they could have been really aggressive, but I think that he got a very fair situation, even though he didn't deserve it. He was convicted of criminal sexual assault in the 1st degree and rape in the 3rd degree, and he is in custody. He's been on house arrest, so he's been able to be in the comfort of his own home, and he was out on bail, and now he's in jail, and they put him in handcuffs, and they took him to jail, and that's where he will stay, and he will remain there until March 11th when he is sentenced, and he's facing 5 to 25 years. One of the most famous people that testified against him was Annabella Sakura. I think I'm saying her name right. Don't quote me on that. I'm sorry if I messed up her name. Even though the statute of limitations for her was gone for her situation, she just wanted to be a witness, and she was a very, very strong witness. They all were strong witnesses, and you should read their testimonies. It's very disturbing though, so just be prepared. It's very sad. It's so sad. And his actions are just completely unforgivable, in my opinion. And I think it also shows a darker area in Hollywood where these women were sexually assaulted, and yet still kept working with Harvey Weinstein because of what he held over them. It's a very complex and sad situation. It's really hard to read stories like this, and Harvey Weinstein, who was big in the business, he was a big deal for a very long time, and it's just so crazy, this whole situation, and sad. And like I said, his actions are unforgivable. So I'm glad to see that the justice system worked, and I hope that he gets as much time as possible in jail. I hope they throw the book at him personally. I hope he gets that full 25. Okay, and that's my second story of the day. I'm sorry to bring you down and everything. This might bring you down too. So Disney's Bob Iger has said for some time that when his current contract with the company expired, he would be stepping down. But since then, it's been unclear who would be his successor in the role of CEO until now. In a very surprising and sudden move, the Walt Disney Company announced this week Bob Chapek, former chairman of Disney Parks Experiences and Products, will take on the role of CEO effective immediately. Now, when I'm doing this, this is Sunday. This happened on Tuesday. Iger will remain on with the company as the executive chairman until the end of his contract in 2021, at which point he will end his decades-long tenure with Disney. With the successful launch of Disney's direct-to-consumer business and the integration 21st Century Fox well underway, I believe this is the optimal time to transition to a new CEO, Iger said in a statement. I have the utmost confidence in Bob and look forward to working closely with him over the next 22 months as he assumes this new role and delves deeper into Disney's multifaceted global business and operations. While I continue to focus on the company's creative endeavors, Bob Iger also added, Bob will be the 7th CEO in Disney's nearly 100-year history, and he has proven himself exceptionally qualified to lead the company into its next century throughout his career. Bob has led with integrity and conviction, always representing Disney's rich legacy while at the same time taking smart, innovative risks for the future and sheep. His success over the past 27 years reflects his visionary leadership and the strong business growth and stellar results he has consistently achieved in his roles at Parks, Consumer Products, and the studio. Under Bob's leadership as CEO, our portfolio of great businesses and our amazing and talented people will continue to serve the company and its shareholders well for years to come. I am incredibly honored and humbled to assume the role of CEO of what I truly believe is the greatest company in the world, and to lead our exceptionally talented and dedicated cast members and employees, Mr. Chapek said. Bob Iger has built Disney into the most admired and successful media and entertainment company, and I have been lucky to enjoy a front row seat as a member of his leadership team. I share his commitment to creative excellence, technological innovation, and international expansion, and I will continue to embrace these same strategic pillars going forward. Everything we have achieved thus far serves as a solid foundation for further creative storytelling, bold innovation, and thoughtful risk-taking. Now, Bob Chapek began his career, by the way, those two are very long-winded, geez, oh Pete. Anyways, Chapek began his career at Disney in 1993, moving up the ranks through the company in various positions and spearheading many practices that fans are intimately familiar with. He previously served as president of Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment, launching the Vault strategy for the company's movies, which saw many titles become unavailable from retail purchase for years at a time and their release from the Vault, a landmark moment. He also helped transform the primary format of home entertainment from DVD to Blu-ray. Now, Chapek's career at Disney also saw him work as president of distribution for the Walt Disney Studios, working on distribution of the feature films across theaters, television, home entertainment, and more. He served as the chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts and transitioned into the role of chairman of Disney Parks, Experience and Products in 2018, leading the team of more than 170,000 employees around the globe. Now, I don't know this guy as far as he goes, but from what I've read, he's very cheap, on the cheap when it comes to doing stuff, and he doesn't pay his employees enough. I have a huge problem with that. You can look it up. I mean, you've got employees working at Disneyland that sleep in their cars because they can't afford an apartment and they can't afford to eat. It's really sad, and I hope that this changes under his leadership. So, tell me, what do you guys think about these three stories? How do you feel about Rian Johnson firing that manager of his, or agent, right after he talked about making a Star Wars deal and right before he signed the deal? And do you think he should get some of that? He should get that Star Wars money, and they made a wrong decision? How do you feel about Harvey Weinstein being found guilty? You should feel good about him being guilty, though. If you don't, you're a monster. And then how do you feel about Bob Chapek taking over for Bob Iger? And how do you feel about him stepping down right away? Like, they announced it and he was gone, in a snap of the fingers and everything. Although he's not leaving the company completely. Go ahead and leave all your thoughts and your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys next Sunday on my Week in Review. You guys have a good week. Bye. Hey nerds, if you like this video, go ahead and click that Geek What icon and subscribe. And if you like this video, go ahead and join me every Sunday with my Week in Review.